Is a partridge in a pear tree on your Christmas list this year? What about 5 golden rings? Have you ever wondered what the true cost of the 12 days of Christmas is? This festive episode is for you. Welcome to the Secret Life of Numbers podcast, the podcast where we dissect everyday numbers and statistics to find the stories behind them.
Each episode, we take a number or statistic and break it down. We will tell you where it comes from and what it means for you. Along the way, hopefully we will inspire you to think about the numbers in your own life.
I'm Levannia, your data scientist on call. I'll be breaking down the numbers.
I'm Lindsay, your data translator. For when Levannia gets too technical on us, I'll be breaking down the rest.
All right, let's jump in. So, Lindsay, what did your true love get for you last Christmas?
Oh, okay. Last Christmas, my true love gave to me. There were a few books that I really wanted.
Okay, always a sound choice.
Yeah. And then also, he's so sweet. He got me a scrub cap with my name embroidered on it, which was, really sweet. And it has little candy canes on it. And I'm so excited for when I'm on the wards next year to get to wear it.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
My family doesn't really celebrate the holidays a lot, but I typically get some books that I really am looking for. I have like a wish list of some of the books that I really want to read, but it's usually pretty low key for me.
And I like that. You know, it's so much more about spending time with family and friends, or kind of whatever your family looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're talking about today is the song that I'm sure you've heard. I think it's called The 12 Days of Christmas.
That's a great question. I think it is also called The 12 Days of Christmas. We thought it would be kind of fun to see the numbers behind the 12 Days of Christmas.
So let's start by going through what your true love should give to you on each of the 12 days of Christmas, according to this song. On day 1, it's a partridge in a pear tree.
Day 2 is 2 turtle doves.
Day 3 is 3 French hens.
And then we have 4 calling birds, obviously.
Yeah, 5 golden rings.
6 geese a-laying.
7 swans a-swimming.
8 maids a-milking.
9 ladies dancing.
10 lords a-leaping.
11 pipers piping.
And 12 drummers drumming.
I can't say my true love has ever given me these things.
Me neither, but there is an episode of The Office where Andy gets Erin's name in the Secret Santa and sends her like the 12 days of Christmas. I can't remember whether it was by like the geese or the swans, where she was like, someone needs to stop doing this, and she has like scratches all over her. The animals.
There is like a funny number that's published by PNC every year called the Christmas Price Index. And what this is that this is an annual tradition for PNC, and it shows the current cost for one set of each of these 12 gifts given in the song for that year.
Oh, that is so fun because, you know, I bet you inflation really hit this 12 days of Christmas hard.
Yeah, so that's the thing about the 12 days of Christmas. Like, it follows what we call the Consumer Price Index. But before we get into what the Consumer Price Index is, I kind of want to look at some of these items because 2020 was a very interesting year, and that was reflected in the Christmas Price Index. So what do you think were some of the things that could have happened with some of these items?
Well, immediately I'm thinking 12 drummers drumming is probably above the maximum number of people that were allowed to gather. Same with 8 maids a-milking, depending on what stage of quarantine you were in. 9 ladies dancing, forget that. Shows were not happening. The 10 Lords of Leaping, again, probably over the number of people you were allowed to have in. Same with the pipers. Music was a no-go. Singing. The birds were probably fine.
Well, I mean, importing the birds might have been difficult.
Oh, that's true. Maybe there was a supply chain issue. Yeah. Was there a shortage of gold? Like, didn't people think that they needed to take all their investments out and then put it into gold?
I'm not sure. But it would have been interesting if flour was on this list.
Or toilet paper. The COVID 12 Days of Christmas should be like, 12 packages of toilet paper, because then you know you're really rich.
A lot of the things that we're talking about here, or joking about, did happen in the total Christmas price index. In 2020, the total Christmas price index was $16,168.14, which was down 58.5% from 2019. And in 2019, the Christmas price index was $38,993.59.
What did they cut out with COVID?
So some of the things that they listed here as being affected were, this is a direct quote because I think it's a little cheeky. It's like, it's a silent night at most symphonies, and the lights have dimmed for many dancers this holiday season, which contributes to the year-over-year decline. So I'm guessing your 9 ladies dancing is not happening.
And probably the 11 pipers piping, the 12 drummers drumming.
Here we go. 9 ladies dancing not available in 2020, as COVID-19 has caused the curtain to drop on most live performances.
What about the maids of milking?
Maids of milking is $58. And what they say here is the federal minimum wage remained unchanged. So does the cost for the 8 maids of milking, holding steadily at $58 this year.
What did they say was the minimum wage? How long are they working for? I have so many questions.
I'm not sure. That's all I've got here on the PNC website.
Now, did the 10 Lords of Leaping stay, or is that gone for COVID?
10 Lords of Leaping are unavailable. So it says, similar to their dancing counterparts, the 10 Lords of Leaping are mostly grounded this year, as benchmarked ballet companies report that performances are halted this holiday season.
And our pipers, drummers, they're also out?
Pipers and drummers are also a no-go.
Wow. So I guess in some ways, the 12 Days of Christmas were more affordable in 2020.
But I wonder what your true love might have thought if you came on like day 10 and you're like, sorry, no Lords of Leaping.
Now, is there one item in this list that kind of fluctuates the most, or is like the most unpredictable or like hard to get?
Yeah, so that's one thing that they bring up, is that the swans is the most unpredictable gift in the 12 Days of Christmas.
Oh, I wonder what drives the unpredictability of like swan purchasing.
So here in 2020, I can read what they say for you. It says the 7 swans are swimming in cash as the most expensive overall gift in PNC's Christmas Price Index. Your true love will pay $13,125 to buy them all in 2020, a cost that should come as no surprise, as it is the same as last year.
Why are swans so expensive?
I'm not sure. I'm guessing there might be like transporting swans might be problematic. I'm also guessing not a lot of people sell swans.
Supply and demand. It's all supply and demand.
We're kind of joking about this Christmas price index because it is very fun, but I think it can also teach us something about the consumer price index.
Yes.
So do you know what the consumer price index is, Lindsay?
I do not actually.
Okay. Then this episode is for you.
It is for me. Okay, so what is the consumer price index?
Okay. This is coming directly from Statistics Canada as their definition. The Consumer Price Index, or CPI, is an indicator of changes in consumer prices experienced by Canadians, in this case, and it's obtained by comparing over time the cost of a fixed baskets of goods and services produced or purchased by consumers. A little bit more casually, you have like this fixed basket of services and goods that you think about purchasing every year, and what the CPI is doing is telling you how that cost changes year to year. Just like your true love is buying you these 12 things and the cost is changing year to year. PNC actually says that the Consumer Price Index and the Christmas Price Index often follow the same trends.
Well, that makes sense, right? Because if the CPI is particularly affected by inflation one year, that would be reflected in the Christmas Price Index.
Yeah. And then this is also from StatsCan, but they say that the Consumer Price Index is an indicator of changes in consumer prices experienced by Canadians. So since the basket contains goods and services of unchanging or equivalent quantity and quality, the index reflects only pure price change.
Right. So it's not like one year you have 8 maids of milking in the basket and the next year you have 7.
Yeah. So you're really seeing just the price fluctuations. And because of that, StatsCan lists 4 things that it can be used to like help calculate, or 4 things that it has specific applications in. And we can do like a Cliff Notes version.
Oh.
Number 1 is that it's used to escalate a given dollar value over time to preserve the purchasing power of that value. So, for example, the CPI is widely used to adjust contracted payments, such as wage, rent, leases, child or spousal support allowances.
Okay, so I guess kind of in like layman's terms, it gives you an idea of like what you can get for your money year to year.
Yeah, so it's like keeping the value of the money constant. So you're paying more, but the value remains the same. Like it's adjusting those costs for you.
Okay.
The same way it can be used, I guess, in number 1 to inflate things, it can also be used as a deflator of various economic aggregates. And in that case, to also create constant dollar estimates of income or of expenditure flows to obtain personal expenditure estimates at constant prices.
Which in layman's terms would be...
I guess in a sense, like in the way you can adjust the cost upwards, you can also use the CPI to deflate things that are becoming too expensive. Like if something increases past the CPI, you can say like, oh no, CPI is this, let's bring it down a bit.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. Number 3 is it's used to set and monitor the implementation of economic policy. The Bank of Canada, for example, uses a CPI and special aggregates of the CPI to monitor the monetary policies.
Okay. So they're checking if their policies are working and check. Okay.
And they're still appropriate. Yeah. Finally, business analysts and economists use the CPI for economic analysis and research on various issues, such as the causes and effects of inflation and understanding regional disparities in price movements. So, for example, if we're seeing prices increase in certain provinces more than others in comparison to the CPI, that could be an indicator that something's going on that we want to investigate there.
Right.
Also of note, that's important with the CPI is there's a lot of things in your basket, right? For example, there's rent, there's transportation, there's like milk for your groceries, and the CPI is weighted. For example, the average Canadian is probably spending more on rent than they are spending money on milk. So if the price of your rent...
I would hope so. Oh my.
So if the price of your rent increases, that's going to have more of an effect on the CPI than if the price of milk increases.
Okay, so that makes a lot more sense because I always kind of wondered about this theoretical basket of goods. What's in it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's weighted according to the relative importance of goods and services in the total expenditures of consumers. And that's a direct quote from the StatsCan article here.
So I guess the Christmas Price Index is kind of a tongue-in-cheek take on the Consumer Price Index.
I don't think it's weighted. They do exclude the swans sometimes, but it's like a fun way to think about the CPI.
So I thought it would be fun this episode to share a bit about what our holiday traditions are around this time of the year. So Lev, how do you typically spend Christmas?
So for me, I am Canadian, but I have family all over the world. So for Christmas, I usually visit some of my family in New York City. And I haven't been able to do that in the last couple of years, but I'm hoping to go this year. And we'll catch a show on Broadway. And we don't exchange gifts, and there's not necessarily a Christmas tree, but it's just really nice to be with family.
I've never been to New York City, but I imagine it must be absolutely magical during the holidays.
Christmas time, it can be magical because they have the tree, and Saks Fifth Avenue has the light show, and they have the big Christmas ornaments. I feel like New York City really goes out of its way for the holiday season.
Yeah, it seems like it really comes alive.
And the Christmas spectacular with the Rockettes, it can be quite fun.
Okay, I have a question. What's your favorite show that you've seen in New York City?
My favorite, I think, is Chicago.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now, was it like the songs, the dancing, the costumes, or kind of what made it stand out?
I think what I really liked about Chicago is the band is its own character in the musical itself. They're on the stage with the performers.
Oh, that's very neat as opposed to being down in the pit.
Yeah. And Chicago's just fun. I'm sure they're all very fun, but Chicago is one of my favorites.
Wow.
How about you? What are your Christmas or holiday traditions?
Yeah, I spend every Christmas at my parents' house. We have kind of our own traditions. It's often quite low key. We see some family, kind of the weeks around Christmas. And then on Christmas Day, it's really kind of family and maybe a few close friends. My dad always makes the biggest turkey you can possibly find. I think we cracked 30 pounds last year.
I feel like that's definitely something your dad would do.
Yeah, we bought a new oven that is bigger and kind of better dimensions for a massive turkey.
You bought the oven solely because you needed it for Christmas time.
Well, my parents kind of needed a new oven, but then it was a factor in the decision making of what will fit the biggest turkey we can possibly buy. So I guess you could say it's all about the food.
Yes.
And we have our Christmas dinner at noon instead of late in the evening or at traditional kind of dinner time, which my parents are the real MVPs for waking up at 5 a.m. to put the turkey in so that it's ready to eat at noon. But then the rest of the day is just a nice little coma where we maybe go for a turkey trot, maybe eat some leftovers at 6 or 7. And then we always watch National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation every single year.
Oh, nice. We always watch Die Hard.
Oh, Die Hard is so a Christmas movie. I
am in that camp too. It happens at Christmas time. It's definitely a Christmas movie. It's all about family. And, well, I mean, it's about other things too, but the take-home message, spoiler alert, is that it's about family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have kind of a funny Christmas tradition story.
Okay.
For as long as I can remember, my family has always done a sleigh ride on Christmas Eve.
Okay.
But anyway, so we always used to go to this same farm. It was a family that did sleigh rides on their big acreage. Mm-hmm. And several years in a row, we always booked at the same time. My family is very much creatures of habit with these sort of traditions where it was always at I don't remember what time, let's say 10 a.m. we would book a sleigh ride on Christmas Eve, same time every year, same place. And we always ended up with the same family also on the sleigh ride. So yeah, and we kind of got to know them a little bit. And then one year we switched sleigh ride places. I don't remember why. Maybe the other place shut down or I don't know.
Okay. Something changed.
And so we switched places. Still 10 a.m. Christmas Eve. We roll up to the sleigh ride. Lo and behold, it's the exact same family. And we were like, oh, like same time next year? And then one year we stopped going. So they're probably wondering what happened to us.
Do you know the families? Like, have you become friends with this family over time, or did you?
No. It was always a thing of like you hang out for the 1 hour on Christmas Eve during the sleigh ride, and then there's usually like hot chocolate and cinnamon buns afterwards. And we kind of like chat to them and stuff. And then and then you never see them again until the same time next year.
Cold turkey until next year.
Yeah. So before we launch into our science seed, Levannia and I just want to wish all of our listeners a sincere happy holidays for whatever holidays you celebrate during this time and whatever traditions you have. We hope that everyone is staying healthy and safe and happy.
Yeah, and I feel so privileged that you spend the time listening to us talk about numbers every week.
Yeah, the greatest gift you guys give us is supporting our podcast and our passion project. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And have a great holiday season.
But before that, we have our science seed.
Yes.
Each episode, we like to give our listeners something to think about, a science nugget to help you think more critically about the numbers, statistics, and science that you hear every day. So, Lev, what is our science seed this episode?
So this episode, I guess I really just want our listeners to kind of look at the numbers around them, or look at what's going on around you and pay attention to the numbers. Like, even in the song, The 12 Days of Christmas, those numbers can be reflective of something that's happening in the world. Yeah, and hopefully some of those numbers that you think about will be ones that we discuss in our upcoming seasons.
And if they aren't, if you leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts with a question about something we've covered or something you want us to cover in the future, we just might feature it in an episode or in our post-season 2 Burning Questions episode. So leave us a review and let us know what you want us to talk about.
Thanks for listening, everyone. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you find your podcasts. You can find the references we used for this episode in our show notes. A special thank you to Julian Bertino, who does our sound editing and music.
Have an idea of what number we should cover next? Want to learn more about what we talked about today? Follow us on Instagram at The Secret Life of Numbers.
We'll catch you next time on The Secret Life of Numbers, where the numbers can run,
but they can't hide.